So, after recording that H1B visa video, I saw that Callum had posted this on Twitter. He had found a subreddit called R Back to India, and he posted this story. And this story is just intense. And so I thought I'd have a look at the subreddit. And, I mean, I can see why they want the H1Bs. It's pretty rough, right? So, this is the post. We have moved back to India around a year ago from Canada and decided to move back. We moved for our parents, but we have decided to return back to Canada due to a few reasons that I'm posting below. 1. We were caged in our own cage in India since outrageous air quality. I had burning eyes. I can't go out much and feel like prison. Eating out has been notoriously bad. They use bad oil, bad dairy products, and unheard of chemicals. We barely eat out. Hygiene is not good by any means. You can't or don't eat at 5-star establishments every day, but elsewhere, kitchen is dirty and cook is filthy. Roads are very bad in most part of the country. Can't drive anywhere straight like Canada. Going on roads feels like going on war. People want to tailgate you, honk for no reason, cut you off without signals, and yes, so much road rages and fights. So much noise of different festivals seems to be unbearable. Dirty politics at every level. Caste system seems to even still be huge. So much drugs and gambling addiction in youth causing serious impact on society. I can't see my kids growing up in this environment. It's like, man, you don't have to live this way, right? You just have to accept that you have a problem and then resolve on fixing it. And genuinely, right, in the ancient world, what used to happen? It's like the ancient Greeks. If they wanted a new constitution for their city, they would ask a foreigner to come over and give them one. Write one for them. So they knew that it wouldn't be partisan or biased in any one direction, and that everyone could then agree to. And honestly, all I'm hearing from this is India needs someone to come and sort it out, right? If the Indians can't sort their own country out for them, maybe you might want to think about asking for help. You know, you don't have to be too proud to ask for help. Anyway, I found a bunch of posts on this subreddit, and I found them really interesting, so I thought we'd just read them and talk about them. Because, again, they are in themselves just an interesting thing. So you've got this one. Always at peace knowing I've been blessed with the option to return to move to India. And that's interesting, isn't it? Again, we keep saying this. I have no right of return anywhere. This is the place I had a right of return to, and I live in it. So what am I supposed to do? They say, my grandparents left India in the late 1800s and early 1900s. Growing up as part of the Indian diaspora in my country of birth hasn't always been easy. And that's really interesting, isn't it? Because at no point have they integrated by intermarrying with the local communities wherever they've been. They've just been a minority who's married within their own race instead of integrating. And so they get a fair amount of what they say racial tension. Hearing the words go back to India was something that stuck with me for years. Eventually, I decided to take that challenge literally and formalize the process. It was not easy. Collecting my grandparents' ancestral documents took a lot of time, patience, and emotional energy. But through all these obstacles, I managed to apply for and secure an OCI. Can't you just do some sort of genetic test? You know, anyway. When I finally collected the document, I couldn't stop crying. It felt surreal, like a huge weight lifting off my shoulders. After all the struggles, here was something that would allow me to live permanently in the land of my ancestors, my true motherland. It felt like such a blessing and birthright returned. Now, I'm actually very sympathetic to this. Like, I actually do wonder what the consequence of the result of mass immigration is. Because this is not the only account like this that I've ever heard, right? Actually, there is something to be said about the negative consequence of wrenching people out of their social contexts and then expecting them to just get along as if nothing matters and if everything's just normal. It's like, no, 3 generations in, like over 100 years later, four generations, how many it is, over 100 years later, they're like, God, I just wish I was living in India. And it's like, I wish I was living in a place that was full of my people and made sense to me. And it's like, yeah. So that, like, it's not as simple as just saying, oh, well, they'll just integrate, bro. Because apparently there are lots of them that won't just integrate, right? And there are people who genuinely feel like returning to India is like a homecoming, their true motherland. This is a birthright return. It's like, well, why was it a birthright denied in the first place? Why did we allow this, frankly, is the question. And so it's just, I don't know, there's just something about this that really I find very interesting. But honestly, I do find really resonates with me. Because I'd never live in any other country. Like, things are going to get bad here. They are bad here. They're going to get worse. But I could leave, obviously, if I wanted. But I don't want. In fact, don't even want to leave the southwest and move to another area of England. I don't even want to leave Swindon. I don't want to leave where I live. I'm very happy where I live. It's very normal and I like it. I feel like I belong here. And that's what these people are searching for, right? The feeling of belonging. And I think everyone should. I think I did a video on my Sideline channel. It's like, what do people really want? And only like 110,000 people watched it, which is a real shame because I really think it was genuinely my best work. I think it's the best video I've ever made, ever. I'll leave a link in the description. And I really think that if you go through just philosophically what it is that people are striving for ultimately, I think it's what this person is saying. I feel like I need a sense of belonging and I don't have it. And that's what I'm after. So things aren't all sunshine and roses in India. This guy's like, I grew up in Mumbai, lived there till I was 20. At 21, I moved to the US, got a job. I'm now 26. Spent all my early 20s in America. Life here was pretty much the usual cycle: work, smoke, game, repeat. But I also do some stuff on the side, like going to the mountains, whatever, right? The thing is, I might get laid off, and if that happens, I'll probably move back to my apartment in Malad. On the main road, so noise and air pollution is going to drive me nuts. I have some friends in Mumbai, but it's not a big circle. Career-wise, blah, blah, blah. I know the realities in Mumbai. I really hate the noise, but I'm fine hiding indoors when it gets too much. What I actually want to know is, are you guys actually happy living in Mumbai? If I move back, will I be able to make friends? Well, it's just 5 years. It's not that bad. But no one's saying yes. Right? No one's saying, yeah, Mumbai's great. Interesting. Planning to return, leaving a good paying job in the EU because I'm not happy here. There's another one of those sort of people wrenched out of context, right? 28, male, single, has been in the EU for 4 to 5 years, have a good paying job, have savings, blah, blah, blah. Both parents still working, will retire in the upcoming years. Money isn't the issue. While I appreciate the money and clean air infrastructure here, I'm not happy. I live alone and addicted to smoking joints. Winters are depressing, and while I do have friends here, none of them are really close. I come to India twice a year, and I love it. I'm planning to ask my manager for a company transfer to India, but my relatives, not my parents, they're happy, are discouraging, saying work-life balance is shit, you don't have free time, you'll regret it, etc. I do have free time and good money here, but what's the point if I don't have anything else other than smoke joints and spend it in pubs? And the issues for him is feeling like a second-class citizen. However much time I spend here, I'll feel like a second-class citizen, even if you're born here due to your skin colour. My sense of belonging I felt in my hometown I never found here. Now that's, again, fascinating. Family. If I have kids growing up here, I feel that they'll lose touch with India and my culture, like the family will lose its legacy. Again, very interesting thing. The more I stay here, the more I lose connections to India. If I live here for 10 or more years, make good wealth and then return, I would already have lost significant relations and connections that I've had. The world is moving far right. Racist attacks are increasing everywhere, so that's a good point, actually. Again, very, very interesting post. So all I do here is just smoke weed and spend time on my own. Winters are depressing, yeah. I mean, northwestern Europe is not the same as India environmentally. And this is another thing that I find really interesting because I personally really like winter. Like, it's a pain that it's cold and I have to cycle my bike to work. But the aesthetics of winter in Europe is beautiful. And I guess this is because I'm a Northwest European, right? I personally like it. It feels normal to me, like I don't know what to say. Like, it's the heat that bothers me. Like, the cold doesn't bother me at all, really. I don't know how to say. Like, for me, again, it's just always been like this my whole life. I lived in Germany, I've lived in England, and I was on a British camp in Germany. And the weather's very similar in Germany. Although they get, like, better winters. They get more snow than we do. but it's still not very different. And so to me, this is just normal, right? And you've got to wonder, is this some sort of ancestral memory or something? You know, is this, what am I talking about here? I don't get depressed during winter. I'm happy all year round, but like, you know, anyway, so he doesn't like the environment, even though it's clean and like everything's good. He's not happy. I'm like, man, if I was like, I hate going on the tube on the London Underground because it's disgusting. The air tastes like soot. Like I can't stand it, and I would just rather be poor than work in London. I've never had a job in London, and I never would. And I just would rather just do something for half the wage in a much more backwater place than live in London. I think I just find it gross. But anyway, again, if you feel like you're out of place in the place in which you're living, well, again, the sense of belonging I felt in my hometown, I never found it here. Again, that speaks to what I was talking about a minute ago. I think that's really what people actually want and need to make them happy, to feel like they fit into the sort of matrix of social relations that make a place up. And that's what he's talking about here. The more I lose the connections back to India, those, you know, the connective relations, the tissue of society. Well, you don't fit in someone else's society, obviously, because you're not from there. And you let those ones from India wither, and you lose something by letting that happen. He's right. He's absolutely right. And he, you know, when he says my family will lose its legacy, well, maybe. I mean, the cultural, I don't know what's called, continuum that you have as an Indian, yeah, you do lose that if you essentially join another culture. Of course, you've got to give that up. Of course, you lose that. And it's ridiculous to think you could maintain it. And if you value it, well, yeah, being in the West is not going to continue that, is it? So this is really something to think about. And you are right that the world is moving far right. Like, people are tired of mass immigration because it's been inflicted upon them without their consent. Nobody asked for this. Like, nobody asked for you to be here. Sorry to say it, and I'm not trying to be rude, but we didn't want this. And so you've really got to weigh these things up and say, you know what, maybe. And so there are just loads of these where it's like, look, I'm a second generation out of India, based in the UK. My grandparents came from India. I wasn't born there, but I visited several times and always felt a strong connection. In my 30s, single. I don't have close family in India, but I've been seriously considered moving, ideally to the Mumbai area. I've not heard anything good about it. I work in mental health, blah, blah, blah. Language-wise, I speak Hindi and Gujarati, though my reading and writing are pretty rusty at this point. Beyond career, a big part of why I want to move is to connect more deeply with my roots. I've always loved Indian history and culture. I feel drawn to experience it more fully by living there. So why is that happening? Like, why don't they feel a strong connection to this country since they're born and raised in it? And all we hear is, oh, well, if you're born in a place, then you're from that place. It's like, well, that's not what these people are telling us, actually. And there are a surprising number of these posts on the Return to India subreddit where it's like, I just don't really feel like I'm from here. And actually, I've got this kind of calling, a longing inside of me to go to India where things make sense. And that's very interesting, isn't it? Like a series of cultural expectations that go with them, even though that they were born here and have been passed to them by their parents and grandparents who were from India. And it's like, I don't know, man. There's something about this that feels like it's been a kind of almost like a kind of abuse. Like this, it's unkind to have done this to these people and to have forced this upon them. Where they're like, you know, I don't feel like I belong here. I feel like I belong 10,000 miles away, and I'm gonna actually start exploring how to get back to that place. Whenever I visit here, I'm like, yeah, no, this is way more like me than it is back where I'm actually forced to live at the moment. So, you know, this is on my mind to the point where I'm actively organizing it. And then you've got the other side of the coin, which is those second and third generation Indians who don't belong in India. Now, this, I mean, I have no idea whether this is the case or anything like that. But this is, again, just really interesting how you've got people who just don't feel like they belong anywhere because of mass immigration. And again, seems unfair, right? joined this Return to India group to learn more about what it would mean for me to move back. I'm a second-generation Indian, seriously considering building a life in India. But I have to admit, I'm growing a little worried after reading a lot of the discussions here. There seems to be a recurring sentiment that second- and third-generation Indians could never really belong in India, mostly because of cultural differences and challenges in adjusting. A lot of the commentary frames this in a negative way, almost suggesting that Indians born and raised outside of India just aren't equipped to handle life in India. This has been disheartening for me to read. I've put the effort in to gather my ancestral documents and obtain my Overseas Citizenship of India card so I could live in India indefinitely. I genuinely want to do this. I'm excited, hopeful, and looking forward to reconnecting with my roots. But it's saddening to see so much pessimism, especially from other second, third generation Indians, about Indian culture and Indian people. I don't really know how to frame this, but I guess I just want to hear from people who've had a more balanced or even positive perspective on returning. Has anyone had any good experiences? Well, as the first person, India is big. That's a good point. And if you've got the money, you'll probably be fine. But it's very interesting how this is the case. So again, like these are just random posts by random people. And, you know, who knows how much we can read into it. But I don't know. There's something about this that is definitely worth thinking about, I think. As in, you know, your cultural expectations, you've got a pull in your heart for a place. But if that place is actually, it doesn't recognize you as belonging to it, because part of belonging is a reciprocal relationship. The people in the place recognize you as one of theirs, and therefore you feel like you're embedded in the social fabric. Well, if they don't recognize you as one of theirs and they see you as an outsider, well, you've got a whole different set of challenges. And again, is that fair? You obviously don't feel like you belong in the West, but now you're like, oh right, but the Indians might not feel like I belong with them because I was born and raised in the West. It's like like I said, I haven't got a solid conclusion on any of this or anything like that, but it just feels like a very strange thing, and is something to genuinely think about. Right? It's something that's genuinely worthy of discussion, and we never discuss it. So this is another post about how they didn't like the UK. Moved back from India to the UK recently, and this is why I couldn't adapt. Number one is isolation and emptiness. Now this is the Germanic people, frankly, are far more individualistic and private than most people in the world. And it was commented on back as far as the time of Tacitus, that they like to live separately from one another. And Tacitus was like, they don't know how to live in cities. And it's like, yeah, no, we like living in our villages with gardens, actually. Thank you. So, 2,000 years later, I can completely understand what the ancient Germanic tribes were thinking and how they were feeling about this. But the Roman didn't understand because he comes from a giant, ugly city. Anyway, he says, I lived in a small town about an hour from London. By evening, everything was shut down, and outside of Tesco Little Runs, there was basically nothing to do. Miles of houses or woodlands, but very few shops, no street life. Even when I went to other towns, the vibe felt the same. While I do love the greenery, it starts to feel depressing. So, well, I mean, I personally kind of hate crowded streets with just loads of people around doing whatever it is, milling around. I kind of hate that. London itself, clean, beautiful, amazing infrastructure, but outside the central touristy areas, the streets felt empty. Very few people out, hardly any roadside food culture. It looked great, but felt lifeless. That's a very optimistic and positive way of looking at London. But again, roadside food culture. Why would you want that? I personally don't like that. Belonging and safety. Most Brits I met were polite and tolerant, but I did experience subtle and sometimes not so subtle racism, enough that I started to feel unwelcome, like I didn't belong. Well, like I said, this was forced upon us without our consent. And so, while we are polite and tolerant, because we are, it's the decent thing to do, well, I don't know whether you are welcome, actually. And this is not me saying this, it's just like your experience of the country is a lot of people didn't really want me there. And, well, I think that is a fairly widely held opinion, frankly. And then food culture, I didn't like English food. It's like, well, what can we tell you? We don't need to cover our food up. But anyway, so I'll leave it there because this, again, you could just go through this subreddit over and over and over. And it's just, I've got others. It's like returning from New York to Delhi. How is it? Blah, blah, blah. And depressed after coming to Delhi. Oh, it's extremely dirty and chaotic. No place to walk around. It follows on from the point I was making in the last video, which is Indians really should... Honestly, I mean, I genuinely think for your own self-respect, you should be more concerned about the condition of your country. Like, you really should be like, look, if we come back and we're like, it's dirty and it's, you know, nothing to do except eat and drink, like maybe have a bit of civic pride, I guess. But anyway, the point being, it's interesting how integration, the liberal integrationist dream, is not working for these people. I don't think they're an isolated few either, actually. I mean, this subreddit was full of these kinds of posts, which is why I could just pull up, you know, a bunch of them off the first page and just read through them and understand what these people felt. We are just very different to India. And so our country and the lifestyle we have is not the same. And even for second and third generation people, they're like, yeah, no, I just don't feel like this is for me. And that's really interesting because you'd think, well, it's essentially all you've known, right? But anyway, so like I said, I'll leave it there because I could continue like waffling on about this for ages, but I don't have any definite conclusions or anything. I know that there are going to be people who are like, I have a very simple conclusion, but I don't want to go down that road. I don't want to start drawing really hard lines because I'm trying to be sympathetic to these people. Frankly, I'm genuinely quite sympathetic because I think that they've had something done to them that they never asked for and shouldn't have had done.